Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the Aravaipa Rides podcast. This is your race director, Aaron, and I've got a special guest in the studio with me today. This is Jess from, is it Let's Wander Photography?
Productions, actually.
Let's Wander Productions.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Excellent. So anyway, welcome, Jess. Jess has a great long-time history here at Aravaipa, both rides and the running side. He's done a lot of photography and videography for both sides of the company. We've got some kind of a special announcement, I think, for the ride side this year. But before we kind of get into all we're going to do, let's just talk a little about who you are, how you got to be involved with rides, maybe a little bit on the photography, where you found yourself in photography, how you got into it.
Yeah, so I hail from a town called Auburn in California that's known for a running race called Western States.
Yeah,
and
just a little one.
Just a little race.
Yeah.
And when I was living back there, I got into race photography for running because that's actually my primary sport. And I started chasing the dream of being in the sport that I love and trying to chase my passion with something alongside that I could come along and share in the passion of all that. And with that, I've grown the company over 10 years. We've been around for 10 years. I switched from Let's Wander Photography to Let's Wander Productions just this past year. And that's because we're doing a lot more video. So it wasn't really telling of that. So now I have about 12 really solid creatives that I kind of collect within that brand. And we cover a lot of the Aravaipa stuff and one other big company in California, and then on top of that, a bunch of smaller races. And my big primary mountain bike race outside of Aravaipa that I participate in is the Cactus Cup.
I see you repping the hat today.
Yeah. It's the freshest, clean one.
I gotcha. Very cool. Where did you find photography as you were growing up? What made you think that photography was your destination?
Well, my wife actually went to Sac State for photography.
Okay.
And she trained me to be her second shooter for weddings and portrait work.
Very nice.
And so we were doing weddings and this and that, and then we started having kids.
Yep.
And I just looked at all that fancy gear sitting there, and I was growing in my new passion for trail ultramarathoning, and I reached out to her one day and just said, "Hey, do you mind if I see if I can make something out of using this equipment for running?" Yeah. And she's like, "What would that look like?" So I went down to the Bay Area. We lived out there at that time.
Okay.
And I shot 2 races in the December of 2014 in one race for 2 different companies.
Okay.
And one company had 17 races, and they hired me on the spot for all 17 races.
Nice.
So it was kind of off to the races from that. I previously was a mental health worker working with troubled youth.
Okay.
And I did the barista thing for the first couple of years, but found myself ultimately being able to go full-time into photography.
That's excellent. Does your wife still shoot as well?
Dabbles.
Okay.
We live over at Grand Canyon University here in Phoenix, so she does a lot of senior portraits.
Okay.
And we do have a wedding coming up that we're going to shoot together.
Okay.
But it's been a while, so
since the weddings.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And you're an ultramarathoner yourself as well.
Yeah.
What's your what's the race that stands out of your the ones that you've done that's like one of your favorites?
I really like our Copper Corridor.
Okay.
I think that it has a Grand Canyon-esque feel because you get to run around picket posts.
Sure.
Just big, tall rock walls around you.
Yep.
Every time I'm out there shooting or racing, I feel like I see, horse caravans going by, and it's just so old west.
Yep.
Feeling, and love that course. Out in California, I really like anything with redwoods, but there's a park called Woodside.
Okay.
It's closer to Stanford University.
Yep.
And it's when you have to pay for parking, I think less people show up into the park.
Okay.
And so when you're out there racing, it really just feels like you and the other racers, and
very cool.
Gives me the opposite feel, wet, just full canopy.
Yeah.
So nice, cool race versus a very exposed desert race.
Sure. Very cool. That's awesome. And how did you come across? So you've been with Aravaipa shooting for quite a while now.
Yeah.
How did you? So I guess I should back up. So you were in the Bay Area for a bit. Is that what you said?
No, Auburn's east.
I'm sorry, Auburn. You said Auburn. Yes.
Yeah.
So when did you relocate to Phoenix?
We moved here in 2017.
Okay, so it's been a minute. And then did you immediately find Aravaipa, or was that
So
something
I
that
knew
came across?
Jamil
Okay,
from Western States.
gotcha.
Probably met him back in 2013.
Yep.
So we both were still real young pups in the
Yeah.
industry, but we knew of each other. I decided to race Javelina in 2014 as my first
Okay.
100-mile attempt,
Cool.
and the Pemberton Trail ate me up
Yeah.
and spat me out. And so came back home. I tried other races, but when I came back in 2017 and moved here officially, I set out to run that race.
Okay.
And so on my running side, that's kind of where big highlights of my career was moving back here, and I accomplished it in 2017.
That's awesome. Congrats.
Yeah.
Congrats there. So you knew Jamil because he was probably not just a runner, but he was also dabbling in the whole media piece. And I mean,
Yeah.
he's kind of been doing that for years
Yeah,
and
for
years,
sure.
almost since the start of Aravaipa, just the company in general.
Mhm.
So you came back here in 2017, obviously probably tried to connect with him at some point, but started doing some of the more professional photography and at that point with him.
I had two very young kids at that point.
Okay.
I had a 2-year-old and a 4-year-old,
Yeah.
and they're both at home. My wife was starting a new career there at GCU, so I wasn't really intending on jumping in right away.
Yeah.
But because I was starting to go to races,
Yeah.
and running into Jamil and Jubilee and the whole crew, I think I shot Vertigo as my first race
Okay.
for Aravaipa.
Yep.
And Auburn gets hot, but
Right.
hot here is just, it hits different. So
Sure.
the idea that there was night races just blew my mind. But then I understood very quickly
Right.
that it was much needed process.
Yeah.
So I think I ran 5 races before I even ran Javelina. So I
Okay.
ran quite a few,
Yep.
as well as shot a few races around that. And because I shot a few there,
Yep.
then some race directors in Texas reached out to me. So
Okay.
I did some events out there. And that first year here was it was a very unique year. I
Okay.
also had a major health scare.
Okay.
I lost my gallbladder in
Oh,
emergency
goodness.
surgery.
Yeah.
And 5 weeks before I ran Javelina.
Oh, boy.
That's a whole nother story. My race
Right.
career is definitely a whole other story, I
Gotcha.
think. But yeah, I just kind of fell into it a little bit.
Yep.
And then we were really a la carte back then. So it was like,
Yeah.
hey, do you need somebody for Frenzy? Do you need somebody? And so it just kind of slowly pieced together the first couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I would occasionally go back to California and shoot races back there. And by 2018, it was really kind of in a middle ground. It was like,
Okay.
do I move on and do something else? I was getting more education in college as
Yep.
well.
Yep.
And 2019, I decided to go a little bit more all into it.
Okay.
Switched from just kind of giving photos away and charging to be there to sales,
Mm-hmm.
which helped improve the income of the business.
Sure.
And as we all know, 2020 hit and everything shut down.
Right.
I think we lucked out here in the desert, and
Yeah.
our state opened up for events earlier than others.
Yep.
And it really, really helped
Yeah.
Aravaipa get back at it. But people needed to know that it was going on. Therefore,
We need some pictures.
we need some pictures. We need the videos.
Nice.
We
Yep.
need all that. And it really helped solidify that for Jamil, that was a direction that needed to go. We need
Yeah.
to really expose that our events are open.
Yep.
And I know easily 20 to 30% of the people were coming from California. Those are people that I know. So cross communication between that, if I'm
Yeah.
shooting over here and I'm shooting over there, everybody kind of knows
Yep.
if they want to go on an adventure race somewhere else, they knew what to do. So
Yeah.
it's been a really nice marriage between Aravaipa
awesome.
and Let's Wander.
That's great. That's great. Now, if I get all of my Aravaipa Rides history correct, we did our first race or two was 2019. I think we got I think we got two of them in that calendar year before 2020 hit and everything shut down. For the most part, we were getting our running stuff up off the ground first as we figured out how to navigate the protocols and stuff for COVID. But we did get a couple of rides events in, I think, at the end of the year, November, December. I
Yeah,
believe the Tonto
sure.
and the Frenzy races were both held pretty much on their their expected timeline for where they are even now. And you were a part of those.
Yeah.
You got out and you did video, I believe, as well as still photography for those.
I think I was just on photo.
Was it
But
just photo? Okay.
yeah.
Again, I'm trying to
Yeah.
get my history. Never was the greatest at history, and I
all
wasn't
good.
in this role of that piece. So it is kind of a remember. So you're doing still photography, but for us, as in like media and marketing kind of stuff, website, but also
Mhm.
for the racers for their individual like pictures. Is
Yeah.
that correct?
Yeah.
And then for rides, so did you ever do the videos? We do have some videos on the website. I'm not 100% sure their origins.
No, I'm pretty sure a lot of the videos are
Was just
something internal.
internal. Okay.
Yeah. Enzo's been around for a long time.
Yeah, he
And
has.
he's a secret guy. A lot of people don't even know that he's part of the company.
I
But
know, right? He
he's
kind of like
there.
sneaks in, does his
Yeah.
thing, and then sneaks back out again. He's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so getting it all straight. So did most of the photography in the very beginning. Got our websites up. We got some
Yeah.
really nice photography for the websites. Haven't done too much to update. It's like really kind of like
Yeah.
one here and one there since then.
Yeah.
Just sort of like pick one. Like it might be a great photo from a race, and I'm like, oh, I'm going to throw this one up as our new cover photo. But we're not really doing it. Haven't been doing a whole lot to update the
Yeah.
the rest of the pages, I guess you could say. So in comes you. So it was a few weeks ago, roughly, Cactus Cup this year, 2025. You were out shooting.
Yeah.
So tell me some of the conversations that you were having out there that led you to, because you reached out to me. It wasn't the other way
Sure.
around. You reached
Yeah.
out to me. So yeah, talk to me about some of the conversations that you had that kind of said,
So there's
I
a
get it.
twofold thing to all this.
Yeah.
Jen Laughlin, who was on the pod,
Yep.
She is our social media manager for pretty much everything Aravaipa.
Yep.
And over the years, I was like, hey, I see there's some new photos. So there has been a few new photos, and I believe Jubilee came out occasionally and would
Yep.
shoot
Yeah.
some components for day races. There was not a whole lot photo-wise for night races
Correct.
because it's difficult, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
We'll talk about
sure.
that. And why I reached out to you following the Cactus Cup, and it was actually almost immediate because
yeah.
if something's in my brain and I have the storming baby in my brain to do something,
Yep.
I want to get it out there.
Okay.
So when I was at the Cactus Cup, which is another major event here in the Valley, that's
Right.
a one-off.
Yeah.
I know the race directors really well.
Yep.
The Melees, they're amazing. They'd be great to have on the podcast as well. So
Okay.
plug for them. We should get them
Sounds
on here.
good. Okay.
But they host kind of the season opener for mountain biking, for cross country especially. And their only big challenge within that is if it's an Olympic year. They lose a lot of, as far as like the competitive side
Sure.
and exciting side for them, is if it's an Olympic year. So this is an Olympic year, so they were missing a lot of like major action, but
Yep.
there were still some players that came out and did things.
Yep.
So I think it's over 30 or 40 years old. It's been around a really long time.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's really interesting to think back that people rode out on these rocks in what we
Right.
call clunkers today.
Yeah.
And anyways, I was talking to the runners that are local, and there was a few of our race team that was
Yep.
out at the race. And so talking to them, and then I started talking to some youth that were from the Valley.
Sure.
They weren't coming down from Durango or some of these other big popular ride areas.
Yeah.
And they're like, have you ever done an Aravaipa ride?
Yeah.
And so always kind of plugging it back into that.
Sure.
And they're like, oh yeah, we've done one. We really like the one in Santan. I was like, well, that night ride is coming up. It's next month. And they're
Yep.
like, oh, thanks for reminding me. And what that brought to mind for me was more so, how are we marketing
Yeah.
the rides, and how are we communicating to the community that they're happening,
Sure.
and where are we touching that?
Yeah.
I don't know those facts.
Right.
So I have to come to the source, which
Yeah.
would be you.
Yeah.
So I reached out, and took us a few weeks to get the communication rolling,
Yep.
of course, but we're both busy people with
Right.
families.
Yep.
And so, but we came around to, it's just like, let's really like launch this night series off. Like, we're back here in middle of March.
Yeah.
And we have 6 weeks to really get it all set up.
Yep.
So I think that with an added piece of just that being able to share, I think that it's a huge.
Yep.
And that's why I think I've been so successful in the run, is it in the running side, is because people are able to share.
Yeah.
And so word of mouth really gets things out there.
For sure.
So just saying it to a couple youth that are probably part of some sort of mountain bike community
right.
down in Queen Creek, Santan,
Club or school. something.
all these
Yeah.
teenagers are chatting,
Yeah.
and even if they just signed up for, I think the short course like 7 miles, even if they do that,
Yeah.
these are customers that are there, and the excitement starts to build.
Absolutely.
So hopefully that can roll into May, roll into
Yep.
July and August, and we have just an amazing summer season.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep. Exactly. Yeah. 5 races. We're back up to 5. So we've been doing
Yeah.
4 the last couple of years. But we added Hangover back in September, which is fantastic, as you mentioned the Pemberton Trail earlier.
Mhm.
All of our races, the other 4 races are whichever park they're held at. Usually it's a combination of a few trails to make up the loop. But the really cool thing about Hangover is it's pretty much Pemberton straight through,
Yeah.
and it's just a fun loop to do. Whether
is
you're
great.
running or biking, it's just a great 15+ mile.
And
out
JJ,
there.
the parks director,
Oh
is
yeah.
just constantly improving it.
Yep.
Another big connection that I made over the years with the Cactus Cup out there is
Yeah.
the McDowell Mountain Cycling.
Yes.
Jamie Brown has supported me fully in my photography constantly over
That's
the past
awesome.
couple years, and I'm learning a lot about what the community is doing out there.
Yeah.
It's primarily a retired community out there, but so they have a lot of availability.
Yeah.
And what it's good for our runners to know, as well as the riders, is our parks departments are really self-sustained.
Yeah.
But any time an outside source comes in and can groom a trail
Right.
is amazing.
Yep.
So I speak to that it's also great to get out there and try and groom out these trails. We can move the rocks around a little bit where the trails are, and
Sure.
keeping us on the trails helps preserve the desert.
Yeah.
And the East Valley, who's ran by JJ, she does a great job of trying to keep any event company that comes out there to stay on the trails.
Right.
And it really helps with the beauty and so anyways, I would say that within the McDowell Mountain community as well,
Yeah.
it was just nice to kind of talk about it. It's like, hey, there's these Aravaipa Rides,
Yeah.
and it's really nice to know that we'll have one out there that's
Yeah.
a home course for them for
Yep.
2 reasons. When you have a home course, if they don't want to ride, we need volunteers. We
Sure.
need people to help. That's a huge part of
Yeah.
these events is we need the volunteers as well
They
as
make or break it.
the customers that
Yeah.
are racing.
Yep.
And racing is also a scary word.
Yeah.
Jen alluded to that in our last pod. Like
Yep.
it's a scary word,
Yeah.
especially if you're not used to a type of racing,
Sure.
such as using something mechanical. But I think that these are set up in such a beautiful way, especially night rides.
Yeah.
If you are an endurance person, okay, yeah, you can go out and you can test the loop. One
Sure.
year do 7, and then maybe next year you do a few more and you go with 3 hour.
Yeah.
There's tons of opportunities to experience these things in a step up level.
Yep.
But also if you just want to go out and cruise your 3 hours,
Yeah.
our cruise out there for what is it, 6 or 12 hours?
We've
the first
six is the
6?
longest. Yeah.
So we have a 6 hour. I mean, if you're stuck out there and you're going beyond 3 hours, we
Yep.
got people that are out there, and you're not
Exactly.
alone.
Exactly.
It's great.
Exactly. Before we move on to what you were saying about the trail work, probably should just add, please don't go out and do it on your own.
Yes.
Right.
Very true.
Yes, we can go move a rock or do that stuff, but get permission, do it on an official trail day or create a trail day, right? If you've got a bunch of people, if you're a club, if you're just a bunch of like-minded folk,
Yeah.
reach out to the parks and see about, what they need, right? They could probably direct you at the things they actually need versus you just wanted to move a rock because you don't
Yeah.
like the rock.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, don't go out there with all your implements of destruction and start tearing up the trail. Get
Very
permission and join a organized trail day or create one and go
Yeah.
out there. And yeah, they will absolutely love you for it. So Jess, what I loved about, I think you texted me first before email, wasn't that you were just trying to solicit yourself as a photographer. You weren't just, wasn't kind of one of those, the ones that you just kind of delete half the ones that you get. And, it's like, hi, my name is, and I'm doing, your car replacement windshield or whatnot. It's like, okay, swipe. I did not ask for this. But instead of just doing that, you came up and not only did you say, we should do this, but it was as if you were already part of the team in the sense of like, we need to get these things going. I've got an idea. We're going to grow these things out. It wasn't, again, like you weren't just selling your photography. It was, we're going to partner. And it was automatic as if the partnership was, the
Yeah.
partnership with Aravaipa is there. I
Yeah.
know I've known you just kind of at shoulder length because I've
Mhm.
seen you around at some of them, but we've never really had too much of an interaction
For sure.
before this. But you were in there like, I'm already in this. I'm already a part of this. I've got this idea. Let's go. So I want to thank you again for that. I think I may have said it on the phone when we did
Mhm.
chat, but that's what really kind of struck me, is that you weren't just selling your services and your photography, but you're
Yeah.
invested in the whole sense, and not just the one race, the
For sure.
whole series, right? The whole summer, and potentially, I know we're kind of talking everything this year is just to get updates on all of our websites, not just the summer, not just the night ones. So
Yeah.
all of the races. So thank you again for that. That was fantastic. What do you have in mind? So I know you said you did. So kind of
So I'm
let's just kind of talk
with the
that
media
piece
side
out.
as far as like shooting.
Yeah.
Especially the first one. I really want us to show off the event of nighttime.
Okay.
And we have this beautiful night series glow sign, which I'm sure
Yeah.
we're using again.
Oh,
'Cause
yes.
it's an investment.
Yep.
And I plan on doing so people try and take photos with their phones, and then I see their posts and
Yeah.
reshares
Yeah.
on social media, and it doesn't quite
They're
make it
good.
look the
They're-
way we feel
Sure.
it is.
Yeah.
You know,
Absolutely.
if you look at these little neon things behind us, it makes us look really cool.
Right.
But if I just pulled up my phone and took a photo, I'm not going to look as cool as it is.
Right. Yeah.
As
That's
the
those darn iPhone cameras.
Yeah. So why use fancy cameras is to improve that. So we really plan on, especially on the first one, really featuring that
Okay.
you know, like the vibe that we know that when we're present and we're there,
Yeah.
we want people to really be able to showcase it the way it, as close visually as it is.
Sure.
Are we going to be able to showcase it perfectly? Maybe not, but at the same time, there's ways to showcase that there's night riding.
Yeah.
And that the vibe at start finish area is always top notch.
Yeah.
At Aravaipa. If I, like I said, I work in several states as far as different races, one-offs as well as companies.
Mm-hmm.
And Aravaipa is the one that not everybody fears, but they go, man, if we only had the resources. If somebody really wanted to do something great, I hear Aravaipa's name a lot.
Okay.
So how can we really feature that for the ride side so
Yeah.
that people that are doing other series aren't not thinking about doing their local races, especially?
Sure.
How can we get most of our clientele here in state?
Yep.
NBA, I now that I'm starting to understand what other companies are out here.
Sure.
It's like NBA. We don't really line up on the same dates. There are options to ride with us and to ride with them.
Absolutely.
Very smart.
Yeah.
Good job, Aaron.
Thank you.
And I think that also just falls really nicely, so that especially these younger riders that have the opportunity to do, I don't know, they bounce back a little faster.
Sure.
They can do NBA and this and
cover.
feel totally fine.
Right.
I was already going to do a night ride on Saturday, because that's when you have to run or ride out here. It's like super early or super late. I think we had a question on social media recently that it was like, do you prefer to ride mornings or evenings?
Correct. Yeah.
And it was kind of 50-50 actually, which surprised me, because I think it would terrify me to ride with lights.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, there's people out there obviously doing it.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
I really think that where the company is worth racing with.
Absolutely.
And I can see that, and I just want other people to see that.
Cool.
It's totally there.
Yeah.
It has all the components of safety,
Yep.
safety net,
Sure.
raceable if you want to race.
Absolutely.
I think we need more people. I think that's where more people really comes into making it feel more racy.
Yep.
So if somebody wants to race and get out in front of everybody, they can, or they can sit back and enjoy the loop and just only worry when they get caught by maybe somebody lapping them.
Right. Yep.
But there's no harm and foul with either side of that.
Sure. Absolutely.
With running, I used to think when I was a cross country track kid, there's no way I could run a 15-hour 100-miler. So why would I even go there?
Right. Yep.
But once I realized that the 30-hour folks are just as fascinating as the 15,
Yeah.
it freed my mind to go, it is worth trying.
Yep.
Why is it always in the back of my mind? Because it's like there's something there that is desirable to try.
Yeah.
So if you own a bike, don't own a bike, I think that going out and doing a ride out here in the desert, it's worth trying.
Oh, for sure. For sure. Yeah, like, just to use MBAA as you brought them up as an example, they bring out a huge level of competition when you look at their races, and they've been around for years,
Yeah.
20, 30 years, even at this moment, back into the 90s. Um, our vibe is certainly a little bit more chill and laid back.
Mhm.
The competition's there. Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, you can come out and you can race, and there are going to be guys and gals right at the front line who are going to be right up there, and they're going to be, you know, right from the start. They're going to be going all the way through the finish. And there are some who, they know they're not, that person, or they're not competitive in that way. They just want to go out and like do their best race. They enjoy the competition for the competition's sake. And they're that other person. They're that laid back kind of rider. And I think coming out to an Aravaipa race, you'll see that really quick, that we don't, it's not like this is, absolute a peak, elite racers, although I'll take a few if anyone wants to come out, by all means. But we've got great local racers that come out, and we've got a
Mhm.
lot of great supporters who come out for that vibe and that chill atmosphere, and like you can hang out in the beer garden afterwards and like meet a new friend that you didn't
Yeah.
know before. Whereas, some of the others, are that more. It's, Cactus Cup has a lot of elite racers. They come in from all over, and I'm sure they're chill and friendly. I'm not saying anything about that, but it is like you go in for the competition. You're going out there.
Yeah.
It's like an A race on your calendar if it's something, and you're going out there because you want to be at the top, for whatever reason, your sponsors maybe, or
Sure.
that type of thing. We're not, again, we're sort of like a step back where it's like we want the chill vibe, the cool atmosphere, the competition as well, but we want you to have fun. And I think when you come out for the night races too, with the whole, just the theme of the night racers, the neon signs and the vibe that goes along with it, it's definitely a different atmosphere than anything else you'll find.
For
So
sure.
something to think about if you haven't raced one of ours before, the night races especially, or any of Aravaipa's. It is a different, chill, and I think worth checking out
Yeah.
type of vibe. Um, let's get a little bit more into specifics, and I don't know
Yeah.
how specific we want to get, or how specific you're ready to get, and I don't want to like have anybody turn in the old parlance, turn the knob to another station here if it gets a little too techy. But
No.
what are your thoughts? Let's just talk Sinister for
Oh,
the start. Like, what are your
so
thoughts for like a setup? What do you want to
so
deliver to the racers?
I'm really excited to get back into a second year of night races. So I've been shooting the runs this
Yes.
past year, and there was a little bit of testing of waters with that because I have done some night running races with a completely different lighting setup
Okay.
from the past, and same idea on the run side and the ride side.
Yeah.
The night series have kind of felt secondary, but if you really look at like on Instagram, if you tried to find photos of night rides or runs,
Yeah.
there's not a lot of examples.
Okay.
So there's really cool, light streaks and
Yeah.
kind of you turn the shutter speed on a camera down, and
Yep.
you can create like really cool aesthetics,
Yep.
but it doesn't really actually show who you are. Maybe your
Yeah.
plate if you care about that, and really that that's you.
Okay.
So kind of more you see marketing type shots.
Yeah.
I'd say it'd be
Sure.
a great header for you.
Yeah.
Big swooping
Yeah.
lights.
Exactly. Like a
And I
whole.
might get that for you
Very
with
cool.
the team. But our bigger thing would be more so how does a runner or a rider show that they went and did a night ride,
Yeah.
because the word just needs to get out that people do it, I think.
Yeah.
I think that there's daytime riders,
Sure.
there's gravel riders, there's other types of riders
Yep.
that go like, oh, I wonder.
Yeah.
Or maybe they think they're the one strange person out there that rides at night and
Yep.
nobody else is, because there aren't a lot of
Right.
lights moving out there in the desert. You're not alone.
Yeah.
And so I want people to understand that. So with that, I have a lighting setup where I have continuous lights, so that I can expose and see the bikes as they come by.
Okay.
And so it's really well lit. It's not an aid station, and it's not the finish line. And they might think they're coming into an aid station or something
Yeah.
like that, because there's so much light.
Gotcha. Sure.
So it's just this little, I'm my own one-man city out there with all
Okay.
this light.
Yeah.
But then I also have strobes that pop,
Yep.
and that really gives me enough light to showcase the person and the bike.
Okay.
I'm working on actually creating more of a neon look, so
Okay.
it's actually cohesive. So there's some color in it too.
Be cool.
And then another part with all that light is I try and set myself up in a spot that will show off what the cacti life is out in the
Okay,
desert.
sure. Yeah, a
I
little
can't
environmental.
showcase the mountains and that part, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Um,
But you can get like
but
the local to right in front of the bike,
the
behind the
local,
bike.
yeah.
Yeah.
So a
Okay.
bit, big Ocotillo in the background.
Sweet.
So then that creates the look of we're in the desert. So then
Yeah.
that also it circulates back where is it being shot? You may have to decipher in your mind if you're looking on Instagram. Go, oh, is that where is that? Is that New
Right.
Mexico? Is that where? What is that? Oh,
Yeah.
it's Arizona. Oh, it's Aravaipa Rides.
Okay.
And then it really draws them in.
Yep.
But if nobody's seeing night shots of bikes
Right.
and somebody actually like on their bike, they would never think that that's possible.
Right.
And I have created a system that is functional enough. I think power is the biggest thing. Like I understand how the power works for all that.
Yep.
And I commit to the first couple hours with the rides. So I'm also not going to annoy you when you're, all drained
5.5 hours
in.
Right.
You're not going to get flashes then. It will be your first and second loop.
Sure.
And
Okay.
then you won't see us again.
Very cool.
But then I have a team.
Yeah.
I think I alluded to I have a team.
Yep.
I have a local guy here that I trained up. So there'll always be at least somebody there.
Okay.
Some of them there might be able to be two.
Okay.
And that's where we'll be able to feature a little bit more of like the home camp, start finish area,
Yeah.
and being able to get, if you come out with your club, that'd be amazing. We
Yeah.
can get a shot of the whole club in front of the neon sign. We'll be right there, front center for all of it.
Cool.
We'll try and capture the starts as they take off.
Yep.
So it'll be a really nice, as far as like images that you all can find as the customers coming to the rides, you can find those. But
Yeah.
on top of that will help for future marketing
Sure.
and helping Aravaipa Rides really showcase it all on the site.
Very, very cool. Yeah. So as to I guess to be clear for everyone listening, obviously we are, taking part in this for some new marketing, some new pictures, new videos, spice up our websites. If you haven't seen the event sites, they are in the process of being kind of upgraded, modernized.
Yeah.
I could say we're about halfway through. I think most of the races, half of the races are done. But adding newer photography, video as well going in will just give them, the whole thing will come together, and we're not using a shot from like 2019, excuse me, or 2020 with these, brand new refreshed. So in addition to that, though, however, we're going to have some deliverables for our racers. Is that correct?
For sure. And on the video side, there's like ideas I have within that. Aaron and I haven't really like locked in anything on that.
No, this is actually like pure conversation right
here.
Yeah,
you're
too.
seeing it happen
real
time right
now.
now.
I'm taking notes.
The other cool thing that I think is going to be the future of endurance sports, because of video being so popular,
right,
is going to be companies such as myself setting up micro cams in a few places with a well-lit spot on trail. Well, I'm saying well-lit because we're dealing with night races currently. Sure. But or daytime, just micro cameras everywhere.
Yep.
Not for a live stream thing, but for everybody to go in and find 2-minute splices of their whole race.
Okay.
And then you make your own reel.
Oh, very cool.
But it all will come at a cost, so
Sure.
it's not nothing that will be free to the riders or runners. But then it's like, oh, where was my 2-minute time?
Yeah.
You can base it all kind of on your finish time or how close you were to aid stations.
Yep.
But then instead of you feeling like, oh, it'd be so cool to do that, but I don't want to run around with a 360 or a GoPro, and it doesn't really feature the night super, super well.
Right.
Well, we got your back.
That's cool.
That's the future of like what I see
us
doing.
Yeah.
There's a cost to that because that's, a little bit more setup, a little bit more gear, and a little more power. But I see things going that way. And so as far as a fun user experience for the customers, I think that there's the two things where it's like Aravaipa Rides they're going to show up and they're going to have everything you need for the ride.
Absolutely.
And then on the media side, if you're interested in that kind of stuff, you'll be able to showcase your day really well.
That's awesome. Obviously, I think, it's an action sport, right? And pictures don't always tell all the words. They can tell a great story, but that's a great little feature that you can do, because I think a lot of people do try that, whether it's with their own camera or they'll try to snip out video from whatever video feed they're kind of getting it from. Not everyone has the ability. Not everyone has the the skill, I guess, to do it as well. So to have something that's almost, it sounds like it's almost like a cut and paste, just like any other, document we're all familiar with using on the computer, kind of cut this piece out, put the next one in, and it would automatically splice it into another. I know it's
Yeah,
the
and they
future,
can
like I said, it's
cut
not
it down,
today,
so
but
it'll be 2-minute segments, but,
yeah,
and I'm sure it's not a perfect system because then at the same time, let's just say at that 2-minute mark, you're the person crossing over, so you got a little bit on that video, a little bit on that video.
sure.
Hey, my 2-minute video is right around here.
Yep.
I'm working on that.
Okay.
I'm not a coder.
Yeah.
If there's any coders out there that hear this and
Okay.
think that they can help me in that area, of course, reach out.
Sweet.
It's, we're out here trying to have good times, and
Right.
so our finances may be a little bit more limited at the moment,
Yep.
especially on a new project like this. But my heart is in it to just make it better.
Yeah. No, and I was gonna swing it back to the pictures too, though, because I think with riders, we have this piece of equipment that we're out there with, right? The
Oh, yeah.
bike. And it's not the same as shooting, a running race, because it's just the person. You just want to get the person, frame them behind get them in front of a nice background, like you were talking earlier. But the riders want that picture with
Yeah.
the bike, and if you can
For
get,
sure.
you don't want just like, all right, this, I've got his hands, so we've got a little bit of the handlebars and maybe the
Yeah, upper
top of the
body,
cross, but it's all upper body, and you don't see the bike at all. You're like, there's like
Yeah.
one little like little like half
sure.
curve of the rubber. So being able to showcase them as they go by with their equipment,
Oh.
is going to be a game changer as well.
For sure.
Yeah. And then I think thirdly, you're talking about the lighting and getting the just the right aspect to get a night shot, especially a little bit different than daytime.
Mhm.
We've always had in the past the trouble with, and I've tried doing it a little bit myself. I'm no photographer, so I'm definitely not the one to do it. But you've got with their lights on, and usually they'll be running two, one on the handlebars, one on the helmet. So that interferes with whatever photography is trying to be taking place, because it washes
That's
out.
where the strobes come into play.
Right.
So
Yeah.
continuous light, yeah, I'll get those weird, just like your phone. You'll get those
Yeah.
weird white light beams.
Yep.
But the strobe combats that.
Yep.
And so you're shooting 800 lumens at me, usually on a bike, or 600
Yep.
if you're, got really great eyesight.
Right.
But if it's 800 or more coming at me, I'm flashing like 2,000 at you and
right.
eliminating it.
You're getting the rider, you're getting the ride, the bib that shows that they were actually in a race. It wasn't just out there. They can, have that as their, they may or may not keep that, in their home or whatnot, but they've got that to show that, hey, I was at this race, and I can, put it on my wall, right? It's about
sure.
showcasing yourself. So very, very cool. We're welcoming the partnership. I can't wait to talk more about it. I don't think we need to do the whole thing on the podcast, but I did want to have like the organic conversation with you, because we've had a little bit of conversation here and there, a lot more text than actual real verbal. But I wanted to really kind of lay out at least the start kind of live, because I thought it'd be kind of fun to do some discussion and stuff like that. And of course, we'll do the big stuff on the back end to really getting through. What else can you tell any of our listeners who are potential racers coming up, Sinister, Adrenaline, any of the other ones coming up? About your services, or about what they can expect from the deliverables at the end of the day, or just again, anything else that we maybe didn't discuss on the setup.
Mm-hmm. So night races are easier as far as my editing side. So actually deliverables come out pretty quick.
Okay.
Aravaipa also hosts a ride on one day and a run usually on the next day.
Correct. Yeah.
So I do have 2 nights worth of work that I do have to do.
Yep.
So, but rides happen first, so you guys luck out. And so we'll get those out, and then the runs, the running shots will come out next.
Yep.
I think that it's good for everybody to know, like, we do know that some people are crazy endurance people and are ready to do something the next week.
Sure.
So we're definitely done by the end of the first week. We really aim for like Tuesday, Wednesday to be completely done. But like I said, with the night shots, there is some parts that are easier. So sometimes we come out earlier than that. And what to expect from us as like people that are out there, we are your biggest cheerleader. Like,
cool.
So if you hear some hooting and hollering, if you got your shocks on, I feel like riders are better about having shocks than, earbuds.
Right.
But if you hear something out there, and then you see some lights that you weren't expecting to come up on, you're like, well, I shouldn't be at an aid station. It's probably us.
Yep.
And we're very supportive. If for some reason you need to pull off for some reason because you're not feeling great, well, we're humans.
Sure.
the human need out there is the primary focus, but
Sure.
of
Yeah.
course we want to have fun with the camera gear
Very
and
cool.
get you guys all set up.
Awesome. So you and I have talked about for sure the night races, kind of discussing the day races coming in. Just for my own curiosity, because I haven't asked the question of you or any of the race directors, which races are you coming out for the running side this year? Not just I'm assuming the
So
Insomniac, the night ones already.
so night series, yeah. So I'll be doing the night series. The race director is John, I believe,
Yep.
still. Yep. So
Yep.
I partnered up with John, and then we have the dirt series,
Okay.
both
Fall
fall
and
and
spring.
spring.
Okay.
I'm part of those. Um, I've also recently been asked to shoot touchers.
Oh, cool.
So that will be my second event in Utah ever.
Okay.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And my first is actually in May.
Okay.
And so with another company. So
Very cool.
that's yeah. So those are the ones that I'm personally partnered up with as
Yeah.
Let's Wander. I work with some other amazing photographers at Black Canyon and Javelina.
Okay.
So you find me at those races.
Yep.
And there are a few other ones that I try and race and
Okay.
run if I get the chance.
Yeah.
And but I'm always open to working with Aravaipa.
Whatever.
The
Okay.
whole crew's great.
Very cool. Do you have any races coming up? I didn't ask
Oh
that.
man, well I'm in youth soccer season right now, so
It's all about the kids.
right now it's a lot about the kids,
Okay.
and we're coming off the winter sickness season, so
Yeah.
that
But-
my
Gotcha.
running has been
Gotcha.
it's been an interesting map of things.
Okay.
Very inspired by Jamil, and have been trying to snag some local legends, but
Okay.
at the same time, sickness has taken up some of my time.
Sure.
I would really like to either run Pass Mountain or
Okay.
a race out in California called Mount Tam. Both are ones that I normally cover.
Yep.
But my team is so strong right now that I think I can make that weekend workout
Very
where
cool.
I get to race.
Get out there. Yeah.
I am qualified already for Western States 2026.
Oh, nice. Congrats.
So thank you. So the idea is stay healthy,
Yeah.
maybe cut some weight,
Okay.
and go into December as a hopeful.
Very cool. Very
so
cool. What have you run that one before?
I have paced it and I've
Okay.
never been in.
Gotcha.
I've been chasing that for 12 years. So
Since Auburn, since you were back there.
yeah.
Yeah.
So it's long overdue. This will be my 10th year shooting Western States.
Okay.
I'm official photographer for Western States organization.
Oh, very nice.
And I follow the women's field, and I've
Okay.
been doing that since 2015.
Very cool. That's just that spurns a question right here. So what's you've done both biking and running, obviously, as you've described here while sitting down. What's the difference between following a elite runner and maybe following along with riders?
Oh man, so with the rides,
Besides obviously it's like speed and there's some
half
some
the amount of
differences there, but
time with a ride for sure. With the runs, I'd say that it's 15 hours on my feet,
okay.
hiking around,
Yeah.
especially on a point-to-point course like Western States.
Right.
Javelina feels like cheating. Everybody's just looping around to us. But then it comes down to numbers with Javelina,
Sure.
because that's 3 times the amount of racers.
Yep.
But yeah, and then with the rides, I'd say that, man, you can miss the moment, especially with photos. So videos, it's really easy to have a camera just on because you see them coming
Right.
and they fly by,
Yep.
and you're like, then you kind of go, oh, I framed it up just okay.
Yep.
But when it comes to photo, it's like, if I don't get that click, if I'm not set up, and
I hear you.
especially if I want something that's really specific in a
Okay.
shot.
Yep.
One of my favorite spots, for example, on the Pemberton Trail is back by Dixie Mine.
Okay.
They just, in the Cactus Cup, they come off Dixie Mine for the 40 miler, and the
Yeah.
50 miler stays on Pemberton and comes around.
Okay.
There's a bunch of Soros with the mountains like right there.
Yep.
And if I lay on the ground and I'm shooting up underneath them,
Yeah.
and they're just this little thing, giant Soros, and the McDowell's in the background, it's one of my favorite shots I've ever taken.
Very cool.
And but if I'm trying to get the leader doing that,
Yeah.
and I don't know, I tinker with something in my
Right,
bag and
yeah.
I go by,
Yeah.
and I miss it. It's such a bummer. But,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Cool. Is there anything that you wanted to discuss today? Anything else that we didn't mention, just for like what's upcoming
Yeah.
between our partnership? Like I said, we're gonna do a lot of this
Definitely the night
behind the
races
scenes,
are
but
set.
yeah.
I'll be up there at Woody, so
Okay.
that's up to you or not. Because I'll
I'm
be at the
I'm
the day
the day
before. So
I'm happy to have you. So
yeah.
let's just call it that. Yeah.
Yeah, let's just call it that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Two
Um,
days of camping
yeah,
will be
exactly.
great.
Yep. Yeah, if there's I think like I said, most of the stuff is, not it's not newsworthy. We'll do this all
Yeah,
the
yeah,
contract type behind
yeah,
the
for
scenes stuff.
sure.
We'll figure that part out. But I really want to thank you for coming down
Yeah,
and
of
having this
course.
conversation.
So
I'm
good.
really excited. It's I have a soft spot for the night series because I think it's unique in the sense that there isn't. I was just having a conversation downstairs earlier today about, I'm still surprised sometimes how no other company has even just put on a one-off, right? And a
Yeah,
one-off night race at some point during the summer because it's too hot during the day. You have to, right? It's the only time that you
right.
can do it. And there's not anybody who, even at this point, if they wanted to do it as a copycat, not even like
Hmm.
coming in and just doing it, but like, okay, these guys are kind of making it work. Maybe I can try and do my, Aaron's night race or whatever, and
Hmm.
I can make it work too. No one seems to have tried. Um, which either means like, we're just crazy for doing it still,
Yeah,
or I just the maybe the need isn't out there, but I think the need is because
I think
people are
it's
doing it,
finding the
people
right
come out.
venue.
Yeah.
You know, I I'm really closely associated with a lot of the parks in Texas and California.
Okay.
California, most of them wouldn't allow it.
Really?
So,
Okay.
but that doesn't mean you can't find a venue.
Right.
So, finding somebody that has a 20-acre ranch and you can create a 6-mile loop,
Gotcha.
then something like
Totally
that could work
different.
really
Yep.
great. But it really comes down to finding somebody that's willing to do that
Sure.
and then getting everybody to draw their attention over there to go do it.
Yep.
In Texas, there are some private properties that
Okay.
they host night races, but they're far and few between.
Yeah.
So, but who knows with other states because it really depends. I mean,
Makes
you
sense.
don't want people just roaming around Yellowstone, for example.
Right.
We
Right.
don't need to find out somebody got rolled by an animal. So,
Yep.
um, yeah. So I'd say that it kind of just comes down to a lot of that. We're pretty
True.
lucky down here
Yeah.
in the
Yeah. You're right.
especially in the Phoenix Valley.
Yep.
It's
Lots of
a
opportunity.
lot of opportunities.
Lots of venues,
Yeah.
potential venues, and apparently, according to I'll take your expertise. I don't want to say lenient park managers,
Yeah.
but they know what they have, know what they can do, and I
Mhm.
guess that makes us fortunate. That makes total sense. So
I think if people had a specific safety plan within it,
okay,
and really knew that people weren't going to go trash their park,
yep,
I think that a lot of this comes down to building relationships. And Jamil and all his RDs
yeah,
spend a lot of time talking to these race directors, filling out permits,
yep,
driving across the city to accomplish some of these permits because they're old school,
yeah,
do it by paper,
yep, yep,
and it's it's a pretty special experience down here.
yeah, yeah. I agree. I agree. Well, I'm happy to have you on board. I think this is going to be fun. Um, I can't wait to see, what we end up seeing from you guys. So I'm really looking forward to that piece. I'm looking forward to the marketing piece, which, I am no marketer, but the Jen and Matt and everybody on that team who's going to get this stuff out there once we actually have, some pictures and videos to do so. And really just push it up and build it up because, I think to again, but going back to that first text, just building up this whole series to make sure that everybody knows about it, that you don't have that conversation where it's like, oh yeah, I rode there once. Thanks for reminding me. I forgot that was coming up. Never want to hear that come off of anybody's lips. We want them to know that, all right, mid-April, the first night race kicks off, and then there's one every month for the rest of the summer. It should be on their calendar, just like MBAA or Cactus Cup or whatever it is, for what it is, right? It's not the Cactus Cup, but it's sinister, it's adrenaline, it's whatever the night race of their choice is. And we're going to take care of them. We're going to have a great time, and we're going to do it safely in the dark, but at the best time to ride during the summer here. And we're going to take advantage of the fact that we do have this ability out here to do that. And maybe, I guess, not too many other people do, or not other venues are willing to take the risk on. So come out and check us out because it's definitely going to be worth your while.
For sure.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again, Jess, for coming out. This was a fantastic conversation. We'll take care of all the fun stuff in the background so that by the time you guys all come out to race, it's going to be, all set deal. And I hope that what we do get as deliverables from you guys, you all enjoy, because I know that's a big part of actually coming out to these race events is not just the race itself or the peanut butter jelly sandwich at the aid station afterwards, but you can take home that finisher's medal, but also like find it 2 days later, takes a couple days, but 2-3 days later when those pictures come out, you've got a tangible piece either that you can just put on your phone. That's what everyone does these days, versus no one prints them out anymore, but maybe some of you print them still out to actually put it on the wall. But if anything, you're downloading it to your phone, and then you can show the office what you did that's last weekend. You went out in the middle of the desert in the middle of the night and rode around like a crazy person for a few hours, and you'll have these high quality photos that to remember this experience by. So thanks again for coming out. Thanks for reaching out to me, first of all, and getting this going, getting a fire under my butt to do it. And I really look forward to the summer and to the rest of the year. We're gonna have a good time.
Yeah, I love it.
Awesome. Thanks.
Aaron.
Thanks, everybody. We will see you all next time on the next episode. Come check us out. Come over here.